And I'm live. That is cool. Today is 20th of January 2026 now and Tuesday. And let's just begin. I had my practicals, so I practicals multiple. So I didn't stream and there was one exam remaining. So yep, and but here I am. Let's get this done. So we right now what we have is we have a function that can take our DNA and then form this whatever we are going to call this organism out of the DNA. Let's make some tweaks to this and synchronize after updating. Yep. And let's see. Wait, interface. Wait, let me increase this. DNA.ts. Nope. Component. There is a component print svg that literally prints svg. But this thing takes lines. Yep, this is the one. Let's reduce the stroke width to be 1 and that looks better. That looks actually better than the original 2 stroke width. Yep, 2 is a bit dense. Yeah, one seems better. Can we do 0.5? We can give one, we can do 0.5. What we can do, maybe we can modify DNA and give this thing also as one of the parameters, but yeah, that will come later on. For now, let's write some targets for today. Escalator on the top, adjust symmetry and aspect ratio. We did that the last time. So today we need to make like a grid of organisms from which we can choose an organism and add mutation. Okay, so first would be grid of organisms, and second is mutation. These are the two tasks for today, and yep, that is cool. One seems fine. Yep, one is fine. Okay. Yep. So the components that we have is this one. Here we have just two random example DNAs which we are passing to this function make this component, and this takes in a DNA and renders the DNA in some space. We remove this, then there goes that thing. But wait, why do we have this hello second there? This is being rendered by some other internal function. Maybe by print svg. Nope, it is, yep, by print svg. There we go, and now it is gone. And this is what we have. Yep, so we need to create a grid of organisms. Okay, and we can do the like color uh, dark theme or light theme later on. Right now, we first have to get something working. Okay, so we have DNA. We need a component that takes in a bunch of DNAs and prints them on the screen. Uh, organ grid, I guess, would be a nice thing. Cons organ organism grid is a function that takes in a list of DNAs. This is a DNA list and does its import DNA. DNA is a type I must ignore. Yeah, if we write type here, then this will be fixed, and that is cool. DNA is declared, but its value is never used. What this thing does is return a grid, and in this grid, uh, for yep, DNAs dot map for each DNA. This will call the map function. Wait, it is not map but make. Okay, organ grid make import DNA missing DNA property. Okay. DNA would be equal to D, and that is good enough. And export const organ. Okay, that is good enough. This component will take in a list of DNAs and render all of them on a grid. That is cool. Let DNAs, which is a DNA list, equal 7 delete paste and 8 back copy and paste 10 down up. Yep, instead of this, we will call organ grid function and DNAs. DNAs type 2. No. Organ grid is being imported. That is good. DNAs equal TypeScript type DNA. DNA is not assignable to intrinsic attribute this and DNA. So there is some problem. Okay, this is how we tell. Yeah, okay. Okay, props. We have to say what the props are going to be. Props is going to be of type this. Okay, and here instead of DNA, we will say props dot DNAs, and this also works. And we do not have anything here. Yep, so yeah, hello, just be him, being him. How is everything going on? Okay, so everything is cool. How are you? I think today we will make quite a bit of progress. I hope so. And this is the final stage. If we have a grid of organisms on this whole screen, and we can just choose between multiple organisms, and after choosing an organism, there is some mutation, and we get a new grid of organisms. That is the main goal of the website. So yeah, we will be making, yes, long time no see. Yep. Yeah, I just did not want to do anything, and now I'm back. So that is cool. Let's see. Okay, we are not seeing anything. There is a problem with that. Make DNA. We are passing in the DNA properly, but we don't see anything somehow. Let's also say H1 heading hello there. And we do not even see hello there. So we are not doing anything here somehow. Uh, hello there from here. And we do see hello there from here. So we are seeing this thing, but we don't see this thing. That is because we do not return anything, I think. Yes, that is because we were not returning anything. And okay. Okay, so this component is working properly. This takes in a grid of DNA and a list of DNAs and makes organisms. Okay. And now we have to get into React. What we want is we want a component that takes in a grid of DNAs, and we will like specify beforehand how big, what the aspect ratio of some organisms should be. Like I think square organism sounds fine. So yeah, it would be a fixed size, let's say 100 by 100 or 200 by 200, some amount of pixels. And depending on the screen, we will fit as many organisms in a row as possible. And then on the second row, if there are if there is space, then that space should be distributed equally between the organisms. And this is Flexbox and grid CSS stuff. Also, I want to do nothing but boards. Shit, since you are in school. 25 my physics exam. Shit, I guess you should study there just 1 month. Today is 20 January. Yep. Chat GPT, or we can watch some videos for this. But I guess this is not a React thing. This is a grid thing. How do you use grid in T shade? Okay, I think we should add Tailwind to this project. Okay. You see how to do that? Tailwind CSS. Let's add Tailwind and get started. npm create white. No, we do already have a project. Tailwind CLI using we are wait no, we are not using white. Yes, we are using white. Okay, shit, my bad. Our project is already created. npm install Tailwind. We have to install Tailwind CSS. And okay, this Tailwind CSS, this is for Tailwind, and this is a white extension for Tailwind. Shit, one install Tailwind CSS and at the rate Tailwind CSS white. And then configure the white plugin, white config.ts. This is what we have there by default. We have to add Tailwind CSS as a plugin. Import Tailwind from at the rate Tailwind slash white. White config.tss. Import Tailwind CSS. And we just have to add one more plugin here, which is Tailwind CSS. Cool. And then import Tailwind, where add an import to your CSS file that imports Tailwind. Import Tailwind CSS in my CSS file. Which CSS file? app.css. Import tailwind and hopefully that works. That is long. Tailwind CSS cloud. That okay. And okay, we can just start building then. Start using tailwind in your HTML. We have to add tailwind here. So should we don't have to do this part because in our this file we are importing app.css CSS, so I think that should be okay. Let's try something with tailwind. Class name. Mm, yes, we tailwind is working, so that is cool. Okay. Uh, Tailwind, how to give height and width in tailwind. H and number like this. Okay. Uh, let's give height 96 and width also 96 and BG black. And do we see something? We do see something. So tailwind is working. So that is cool. We can use tailwind. 28 Feb chemistry shade. For my board chemistry exam, I just studied like at 4 o'clock in the morning and I was able to pass. So that was cool. CSS tailwind is cool stuff. It is. There is a Daisy UI tailwind library. Wait, libraries for tailwind. Daisy UI library. Tailwind is there to like remove our reliability from libraries. Faster, cleaner, easier. Tailwind CSS development. So Tailwind is an abstraction over CSS, and this library is an abstraction over Tailwind. See components, and this gives components in Tailwind. Hmm. How do I create an account? Oh, shit. What? Oh, preview HTML. Okay, share. This gives you all the Tailwind things. Okay, that is cool. That is cool. Daisy UI. And my bad, how do I turn this into dark theme? This is unacceptable. Should this is not changing? This not changing. Maybe German. Deutsch. Schneller, faster, sauber, cleaner, einfach, easier, Tailwind CSS, and Entwicklung. I don't know this word. Daisy UI ist das Tailwind CSS Plugin, das du lieben wirst. Es bietet nützliche. Okay, shit. Yep, Tailwind is working, so that is cool. Not yes, that is cool. We get components and we get Tailwind for those components. That is good. Okay. This now how to use grid and this organ thing. I think we first have to add this into a div, and there is apparently some problem now. Unexpected token. Where? Shit. Yes. Okay. So everything is in a div, and okay, grid template. Yes, we need something like this. Grid. grid tutorial, grid guide, utilities for specifying the columns in a grid layout. Grid template, repeat dash min max 0 1 grid columns. Mm, okay, this is what is being rendered and this is what we have to write. Grid columns, none, grid calls, grid column 4, add 4 things in a row. Wait, let's increase the size, the number of DNA parts. Copy 17. Yep, this is what we have. They are all in a same line, which is not very good. A little bit. Cult. Specifying the grid rows. We can specify the grid rows and columns, but I guess in that case, grid is not very good because I do not want to specify a fixed number of things. I want to specify the size of these things that should appear. ChatGPT, of course, yes. I have components of, hide that. I have components of fixed size that I want to put on a put on a grid, and I want to put as many components as possible on a in a row, and then move the rest on the next one, and on the last row spread them evenly, and no matter the size of the device, I want to keep the size of the inner items fixed. How do we do that? Let's see. We're describing a classic layout problem. Yes, SS9 problem. And CSS already solved it quite uniquely using, and wait, I should also tell that I'm using Tailwind, or we can deduce. I am using Tailwind with React. Good, that narrows it down and removes excuses. Tailwind plus React, something like this. Dev class name flex wrap. Okay, so apparently we'll be using flexbox. Flex wrap, justify between gap 4. Give a gap of 4, and then items, item ID. We can give a ID. We will give some ID to things. Flex wrap so that things wrap around. Justify between, give space in between, and gap 4. Okay. Class name flex wrap gap 4, and justify between, which is justify content space between. Let's see. Okay, that is much better. And how is it when we, okay, this is not good. These two things are like good. How about this? That is better, I think. Justify between. That is cool. That is cool. Let's also give a border to all of these things and let's make width also 300. So yep, but okay, things are being removed, which is a problem by this adjust container. I think we solved this, but it is still exists. Factor, the factor by which we need to switch line height and width, minimum, maximum, yes, uh, yes, range in the y-axis and range in the x-axis, factor height minus 10 divided by c height, the required height, minus 10 divided by c height, that should be the factor. And if this height is smaller than in this height, factor would be a smaller number. Makes sense. Multiply everything by the factor. Factor into C width if that is greater than width or even equal, which is highly unlikely. We'll do this. Let's make this 15. And yep, still things are being removed. Yeah. Let's dot push. No. Okay. Our organism is getting cutted out here. Why? Let's see. Wow. Make print svg. Print svg literally just prints svg. svg width and height is this. Okay, svg width and height is hard coded here. I think we should change this and make a different folder. Source public components, helper constants.ts, export const organism height 300 and organism width is also 300 for now. And in our map right here, height would be organism height and width would be organism width. Let's import them both. Okay, and after this, let's make this not a question mark. Div like this, and we will give some class name. Border. Yes, okay, border. And what does this thing do? This thing gives a border with a width of 1 pixel. That is fine. And yep, these things do have borders. Okay, the problem is this. The scaling is fine, but we are not starting at the top left corner. Somehow, we are not starting at the top left corner. When we are making these lines, Print svg function is just printing the lines, so that is fine. Translate takes a point, takes width and height, and translates the point, gives us a new point. Is the translate function problematic? Translate new x would be original x plus width by 2, and new y would be original y plus width by 2, which is correct. Wait, maybe I think we should do minus. And everything is out of the frame. Now they are in. Okay. Okay, the figure is like too high above and we cannot see it. We just leave it B, and here we are originally, and if we just do not translate anything at all, and we are there. Okay, makes sense. I think translate is also not the problem. Translate is not the problem. Hello, building a portfolio website when? Lol, not yet. Not like, yeah, later on at some point. Not right now. Like, I don't really have anything to put in there. And look at this. Look at this Flexbox thing. This is cool. Flexbox. And yes, and these are also pretty cool. Wait, I want this space and this space to be of equal size. Justify, not around, but justify between is not good. Even. Yes. Now they are better. Justify evenly. And a little bit of space on the top and bottom would also be pretty cool. For which I think, yeah, margin top, margin top one, just M1 to give a overall margin. Is that is one pixel or something. 4. Okay, that is better. Yeah. Okay. And yes, now the organism is going out of the frame somehow, vertically out of the frame. And maybe I should also put stuff on Git. Constants and okay, on Git add everything, and message is tailwind tw added, and tw and grid added. Git push origin main. Yep. Okay. This organism is going out of the frame. Why? There is a manual fix by increasing the height, and then which is not good, which is not good, because this should work as it is. Yep, this should work as it is. Yep, this should work as it is. But if we were to increase the height manually, constants, height, let's make the height 400 pixels. Okay, that does not solve anything. Our organism is just taller. Yep, we still have a lot of space at the top, and that is the problem. We have a lot of space at the top. Why do we have that? We shouldn't. Make DNA, this function calls in make SVG, which makes SVG. Yes, and this make SVG makes the SVG does the heavy lifting with a lot of console.logs. Shit. New slope with just printing new slope and nothing else. Okay. Yes, this organism is just going out of frame. This is not very cool. Yep. We somehow have a lot of space here at the top. Why? Lines, adjust container. This adjust container, is this causing problem? I think not. This finds the maximum and minimum maths dot min for minimum x, maths dot max for maximum x, and minimum y and maximum y is also found. Then maximum and the total range of y and total range of x, and then the factor. If you were going to shrink by height, then this, otherwise this, if we comment this out, then okay, no change. But if we were to change the factor to be with width, this is what we get. This is what we get. And if the factor is based on the height, then this is what we get. Okay. Factor is height minus 15 divided by C height. Shit, I think we should first translate all of these points and then work with this. For which go to make, and here make lines inside make SVG. This will give us the final points after translating all the points. Return res dot map or res dot how to run a function for each element of a list in JS and change or update that element. How do we do that? Not prototype dot map. Okay, we can do map works. Map returns, and then yeah, we can give the return value to the variable. We can use for loop. Can we not just update the items as they are in the original list? Updated list, nope. For const this of this updated list, nope. I guess okay, we'll use map. Res equals res dot map r run this function where we do translate, but this place does not know how. Yes, this place does not know the height and width, but the height and width are fixed, so this can import them. R is declared, but it, and do you mean CSS translate? No, we did mean this translate. Translate. A point would be r dot start and organism height and given organism width, and r dot start equals to this, r dot end equals translate r dot end, substitute start with end globally. Void here, this function does return something. Wait, this map function does return something which would be the new value of okay, don't return this. Start, shit, this is not good. Const start equals r, translate r dot start organism height and organism width, post, and substitute start with end globally. Cool. And here start x is start dot x and y is start dot y, and here end x is end dot x and y is end dot y. That seems good, and we will see, yep, some bad things here because we have to remove translation here from print svg. We don't have to do this here now. Start.x, no. Instead of this, we will use e.start, substitute start with e dot start globally, and here substitute end with e dot end. and K. Hmm. Translation is mm, translation is done at this point. Meek SVG. Nope, by this function here, and translation is not working. Okay, so we have to fix translation. If we do not do translation at all, then this is what we see. Okay, but if we do translation, and this is what we see. We have to push this forward a bit more. Okay, where is the first line? First line is here. Okay. Yes, we do see the first line here, right here. Hmm, that works. Okay. I think this is flipped. If we go from this to this distance is positive instead of negative, positive y. And if we were to go up, that would be negative y. No, we cannot go up. That going up does not make sense. But yeah, that would be negative. Okay, translation process is not good. After translation, this point should have been in the middle of this whole thing, but it is not. Call the make function, give this thing a border, right? SVG, organism height and width is this. Height, how many pixels? Height pixels, if that works. No, that will not work. Yes, it is just a string. Uh, so instead of this, we have to put okay, height and width. Wait. No. Hello, I'm doing cool. How are you? Can you explain? It is important. Why should someone do this? Okay, like I want to start getting into again for the nth time getting into web dev and get actually good at web dev. So I'm starting with a project idea that I would like to want, and this is a website where right now you are seeing a bunch of organisms, and these are not random. This is just one organism which is appearing in every frame. But the concept of the website is that you will have this grid, and in this grid you will select one organism, and using that organism you will get the next generation of organisms, and they will have some random mutations compared to the original one on which you clicked. And yeah, going on generation by generation, you will be mutating the organisms, and at the end landing upon an organism that maybe you had some idea in your mind, or some just random cool looking organism. And that is the whole idea of the website, to play with evolution. There is no use of this, except I think you will get a idea about evolution. And also this is just front end based and there is no back end required for this. That is a cool thing. I can just put this website online and anyone can use this. Uh, it, the blind watchmaker evolution images. Yeah, you will be able to make like cool organisms like this, hopefully. And we can add. So this concept is called evolution. The concept is the evolution, and I'm just putting it on a website. That is it. Richard Dawkins is the one who is like speaking a lot about evolution, has spoken a lot about evolution after Darwin. The problem, and you could look at this, maybe not your Git repo. Shit, I think Git, shit, I have not added the Git repo in the description. My bad. Evolution. There you go. This thing, you can have a look. Yeah. And also, you can look at this in a way that right now I'm facing a problem, which is that this image is going out of frame in the top left direction, and that is not good. I have to solve that. And yes, just solving problems and getting used to problems we face in web development. Yep, all good. All is well. Flexbox. And also, this thing that you're seeing, this is a SVG image. So I think we should be able to copy this somewhere up here. Each one of this organism, it is an SVG image. So yeah, this thing where we are literally telling where should each of this line go, and that is a cool thing to do, I think. And the way that we are translating the DNA into an organism is also pretty cool. This is the information, and if I were to tweak this and change this one number to 3, we should see, yes, this organism changed because its DNA changed. And if you were take some other organism, maybe change this to -6, yep, this organism changed. So this is what you will have, different organisms, and you will choose among them. But I think here we have to do some more work in how DNA is affecting how an organism is looking, because just by changing one number by only a single unit, there is a big difference between this, and that is not very good. Yep. Yes, that is actually insane. The SVG part. And we have multiple functions here. Let me show you. In app.csx, we have a component, this one, organ grid. This component takes in a list of all of these DNAs which we have here. And this takes in those, and then this function calls this function, this component, make component, and gives each DNA one by one. And this make component calls in this function, make SVG. This make SVG function takes in DNA and returns a list of lines. And a single line, put this thing returns a list of lines. And a single line is just 2 points, a starting point and an ending point. Yeah, there are layers to this thing. And after getting all the lines, this makes function calls print svg function. This print svg function takes all the lines which represent the organism and height and width in which those lines should fit. So that is pretty cool. Yes, it should mutate. It will mutate, and there are like for today's stream there are two things that I have to do. First is grid of organisms which I have added, and second would be to add mutation so that when you click on an organism it asexually reproduces and mutates and we have new uh, forms. But right now there is a problem with the grid. This is going out of frame somehow, and this is because the origin for all of these lines is this point, the top left of the SVG. But we want the organism to be here in the middle. But this is not translating properly somehow. Translation is not proper. Okay. Organism height and organism width. And yes, I cannot type backtick on my keyboard. So I have to literally copy backtick and then paste it here. Hmm. And how yes. Expression expected. Okay, inside we will give organism height or just height. And here maybe okay, there is no change. There is no change. Lines. This takes in lines. Print switching. We don't even know which part is causing the problem. Which we can see. If we go inspect element, like this. This thing, okay, this thing is the SVG, and okay, that is the gap. 300 by 300, that is correct. Height and width should be 300 by 300. Correct. Cool. Hello. Where I am in college, I do not work. No. Expect except YouTube sheet. No, I do not work. I'm in college. Bro, hello, long time no see. What are you cooking? We are cooking some like god level shit right here. We are making organisms with DNAs. And yeah, and to explain it more explicitly, we have organisms here and we have to select one of them, and that using that organism, we will do some random mutation to its DNA and we will get the second generation using that selected organism as the parent, and we will just keep doing this over and over, and at the end we might land on some cool looking organism. That is the whole point of this. That is, okay, I guess, cool evolution stuff. But yes, right now this is going out of frame. Why? make svg. Here we are calling the translate function to translate the origin from top left to the middle, but it is not going to the middle. Yes, organism. Okay, shit. Okay, translate function is not working, I guess then. It should x is increasing by width by 2, which it should. Okay, shit, there's a lot more to this thing than we were seeing before. If we do not change this, if we do not call the translate function, then the origin is here for the organism. The origin is here. So we have to add to this width by 2. Our origin, okay, this line should be coming from the middle around here. So this is not coming out of the middle. Why? Let's look at this specifically. Can we find this single line? Yes, we can find this single line. X is 104. It should be 150. Okay, and if we do not translate, where is the x now? X is 0. Okay, and width is 300. So 300 by 2 should be 150. If we manually add 150, this should come in the middle. It is not coming in the middle. Yep, the line is still not in the middle. And even though we explicitly said to put this line at like at the middle, in the middle, and this is not in the middle. That is a problem. Hello, yo, third year and playing God, it seems. Yes, we are playing God. Those chakra points. Yes, those chakra points. Yes, this is not good. Here, the x coordinate is 104, even though we are explicitly saying here add 150. So the problem is at some other point. I think it is in this function. Wait, no, not translate coordinates. Adjust container. Adjust container. Adjust container. This finds the change in height. If we were to say that factor is 1, then what do we see? We see some random stuff. Okay, now at least this is in the middle, which is cool. So the problem is because of this function, adjust container. Let's artificially translate this to, okay, so yes, we are at the center now. That is what is required. Shit, I think we should translate later on and adjust container first and then translate. For which we here we will call res equals adjust container taken res and organism height and organism width, and go back to adjust container and remove this line. Okay, that is not good. That is not good. We have a lot of space at the top as before. We just somehow have a lot of space. Translate coordinates, artificially adding 150. We can just say width by 2 and add here height by 2. Or if we were to remove this thing, okay, we have adjusted the container and this is the place. Okay, if we adjust the y point, yep, we are going too much down. Width by 2. Okay, at least we are in the center, so in terms of y there is no problem, but there is a problem in x. No shit, x is like this, x is horizontal, so x, so horizontally this is at the correct place, that is good, but vertically it is going too much down. Height by 2, yep, it is going too much down. Why? In this container, yes, there is some problem with this. Height x is width, yes, and so this is the factor that we are using, height divided by c height factor, multiply everything with the factor. Height is greater height substitute uh, minus 15 will be nothing. Okay, that is not good. That is also not good because of this. Substitute minus 15 with nothing. Okay. This factor that we are calculating is not coming out to be how it should be. And do zero point 0.4. 0.4 for what? Mm, Factor should we should not hard code the factor because like our organism could be very big and we do not want to just always reduce it by the same size. Escalator, not ChatGPT, escalator. Okay. If you have a big line and the place in which we want to show this line is this big. This is the height of this container and capital H is the height of our line. And if you want to fit this line in this box, we have to multiply height with h by h, which just makes the new height h. And yeah, so the factor is h by h, the target upon the current height. And if we want to give a little bit of space at the top and a little bit of space at the bottom, then we can say that the target height is, if you want 5 above and 5 at the bottom, h minus 10 upon capital H. This would be our new factor. Multiply this by h and then plus the half of this thing, which is 5. That would be our new like location of this line, or a new size of this line, new location for this line. And we would do the same thing if there are some vertical lines, so that this figure fits in perfectly without changing the proportions and utilizing as much of this box as we can. Here target is height minus 15. Let's this target is height and our current height is CH. C height is the maximum y minus the minimum y. So that makes sense. That is good. Maximum y minus minimum y, and C width is maximum x minus minimum x. Okay, factor. If we are taking factor in terms of height, vertical, then target would be height and our current height is C height. Yep. Y is vertical, x is horizontal. So, okay, that would be the factor. And if using that factor, our current width, which is the highest width, becomes greater than or equal to the target width, then we will change the factor, and the factor would be made with width as the height. So instead of h here, we will use w into small w divided by, our factor would be small w divided by capital W. If small w is the width here and capital W is the width of this thing. That should work. Or shade. Yes, that should work. That should work. That should work if these points are using 0, 0 as their origin. But if they are not using 0, 0 as their origin, then this would not. So we have to use 0, 0 as the origin. Make SVG. Yes. First, we have to adjust the container and then we translate the points. I think we can make this a function. This translate part, we can make this a function. translate codes, translate point and export cons translate. This takes in a lines, which is a list of lines, width, which is a number, and height, which is a number, and returns a list of lines. Okay, and okay, let res equals empty list, type is line, list return res. Property or sign expected declaration or statement expected. For const line in lines, some problem, expected comma. I'm messing up somewhere in some obvious way. How are the patterns printing? Are they inside that container? Yes, they are. For the patterns, we use the SVG component, and that SVG component takes in height and width. So we tell it what the height, what the width and the height of the container should be, and then we give it, we are calling lines inside that SVG container, and we are giving it the start and end points of that line, and that SVG container is just making lines. And if the lines are inside this container, then we are good, but if they are outside, then we do not see them. And the origin is at this point. This point is 0 0. This point is WH, and this point is W comma 0, and this point is 0 comma H. Yep, so that is it here. So yes, there are two functions. One is for adjusting the height and width so that our whole organism fits in this box, and then the second one is to translate, which means bring this origin from this point to this point, which is being done by adding to all of the x coordinates we are adding half of the width, and to all of the y coordinates we are adding half of the width, half of the height. So yes, that should work. So you are adjusting the size according to the overall width and height of the structure. Yes, overall width and height of the structure, and the height and width of the container in which it should go. Is the gap from the top will be constant? That I have to figure out, like, why do we have a gap here? Like, I'm not giving any gap, so why there is a gap here? Can we add that later after the factoring? Okay, I have to figure out why there is a gap. Because of factoring, we'll have to figure out. Okay, I lost track of my thought. Helper. Yes, we are making a separate function. Translate pods. Yep, we were making this. And why do we expect a comma here? So these are the arguments, and this is the return type, which makes sense. What is the problem? Cannot find name lines. Did you mean line? Hmm? Shit. Okay. Uh, yeah. Now it is better. Let res equals res of type line list equals empty list, and at the end return res, and for first line in lines res dot push a new line start point, or wait, start. We have to call the translate. Start is a point. Start equals translate point. This takes in line dot line line dot start. uh, Line is a string. Who is saying line is a string? This is a list of lines, and here line of line dot start. Yes, line dot start, and width, height, that is our starting point, and copy, substitute start with end globally. Wait, we messed up. Substitute start with end globally. That is cool. And res dot push start is start, and just say start and end. Cool. And then return res at the end, and then adjust container. Nope. Make HVG here at the end. Instead of this, we can say res equals translate. This takes in res and height, organism height, and organism. Okay. Yes, and it's still the same problem. First, we are adjusting the container, and then we are translating the points. If we do not translate the points and we just adjust the container, then the things are adjusted. But what are the coordinates for this first line? Starts at x0, x1, and height. Okay, this is like legit at the right place where it should be. And if we were to add translation to this thing, x 150, and this also is 150, and y is not very good. 76 and 277, y 277. So that is this point and this point 76. Technically, half of width and height, that should work. Yes, it should work, but it is just not working somehow. So the midpoint is correct for the translated line. Midpoint in the x direction is correct. Look at this. Translate rest, organism height, and organism width. Here, the midpoint and this one is correct. So that is cool. And if you were to say like 0 here, yep, midpoint is correct here. X is correct, right at the middle, 150. But y right now is correct, 73 and 73. If we were to add 150, half of, no, not half of 150, 150 to both of these, then this would become 76 point something, and this would become 223, which apparently is too low. Which means the make SVG function, this function itself, and this is making lines not correct. Right. Yep. The original lines which are being translated, they are out of frame. And they should not be out of frame because we are adjusting them. So they are, I guess, not being adjusted correctly. End is line dot end x into factor and y into factor. Start x into factor and y into factor. This part is also not problematic. The problem might be that normally this direction is positive, this is negative, this is positive, and this is negative. But here, what we are working with, we have this as positive, but this is also positive. So this y-axis is flipped. Maybe that is the problem somehow. Y-axis is flipped. Y-axis is flipped. Y-axis is flipped. What should that change? That should not change anything. Yep. Y-axis is flipped. Y-axis is flipped. The scaling part is correct. It's just that this figure is going too much out of frame. The scaling is cool. The translate, and if we were to say translate point, width is correct, but uh, 1/3, that is too much high, and I guess the scaling is wrong. 2 is too much, so 2.5. a bit smaller than 2.5, 2.4, bit more smaller. Link, shit. Link for what? Link for this is not live right now, but there is a GitHub link. If you want, GitHub link is right here in the chat. If you want to look at the code, you should. This is like going down. That is better. Okay. We should change translate coordinate. Nope. Adjust container and increase the white space that we have. Yes, that is cool. That is cool. That is also working. So that is cool. But this thing, it is not working for this. This is out of frame. Helper, make SVG, container, translate coordinates, and okay. Width is not working for this. This is going too far above, so we have to increase this. And now this is in frame, but this is out of frame. Translation, shit. So we have to write some better function for translation. Okay, some better function for translation. Okay, what we can do is you can do some manual work, and for our organism we can look at the leftmost point and the rightmost point and the size of the container in which it should go, and we will change it so that the leftmost point and the rightmost points, they have enough space, equal space on the left and the right, and same for the topmost and the bottommost point. That would be cool. Someone is calling. Wait, camera, yes, camera is still working. That is cool. Okay, we have to do some manual work for this function. Okay, leftmost and rightmost points. Okay, let max x equals negative infinity, and let max y equals negative infinity, and let min x equals infinity, and let min y equal infinity, and we'll go through all the lines. And here max x equals math dot max of line dot star dot x comma line dot n dot x, and max y equals, or instead of max have min globally copy here, uh, substitute x with y globally, substitute x with y globally, and yep, Okay. We have the min x and min y. We also know the height and the width to which our point should go. Min x and min y. Okay. Let del x equals x width minus max x minus min x, max x minus min x divided by 2. Let space space x shared, yes, let space x equals width minus max x minus min x, that is space x, and then space y will be height minus max y minus min y. We have space x and space y. Del x change in x would be target space x divided by 2, which is target place for x, minus from this the current min x. Yes, and let del y equals space y divided by 2 minus min y. Yep. And for first line of lines, let start, which is a point equal to x, would be equal to line dot start dot x. Yeah, let's do this manually. Yes, line dot start dot x plus del x, and y would be line dot start dot y plus del y. Let n, which is also a point, equals x dot line dot, or we could just say copy this whole thing, paste it here, and substitute start with n. Okay, and rest dot push back start and end, and at the end return res. And what do we have? We okay, they are going out of space. Okay, that is not good. Make SVG, we are calling this, but they are going out of space. Okay, bro, I was away. How have you noticed that your structure have more height below, so it feels like it is more lower. So it feels like it is more lower. It is somehow lower. I don't know why. My structures have more height below, so it feels like it is more lower. Yes, they like extend lower more somehow. Adjust container. This adjust container function is working correctly. That is good. But translate function is now not working correctly. We are finding the maximum x and minimum x, space x, that is the space that we get extra in y direction and x direction. Yep, that is correct. And then height, space y, the space that we get, extra space we get in the y direction. Del x del y would be, yes, where the minimum x currently is and where we want it to go. It should go in this direction. Space x divided by 2, that is where it should go. And minimum x. This is going out. At least the x part should have worked. Whatever the minimum x is, the leftmost x, its space should be little, not this much. Max x minus min x, that is the space in y, and this is the space in x. We are shifting the whole thing to the right by del x out, and the whole thing in the y direction by del y amount. This should work. Console.log space x is space x, and yeah, substitute x with y on the whole line. Let's see. Space x and space y, they are way too big. Somehow they should not be this big. Space x and space y. Maximum x and maximum y. Max and min x. Max and min x. Print these two, and maximum x is this and minimum x is this, which does not make sense. Math shade. Yes, that is because of my stupidity. My bad. And max y. Think we should be good now. Kind of. Max and min. Max and min, they seem good enough. Console.log space x. Uh, space x. Substitute x with y on the whole line. Okay, space x and space y is bigger, space x is smaller, but whatever, that is fine. We are getting problem in the y direction. Del x and del y. Hello, bro, moving different. Hello, how are you? That's why. How is everything going on? Like the leg apart. legs part, they are going out of the frame. Maybe we need to calculate extreme points above and below from origin and adjust. Yes, that is what I am doing here right now. Finding the extremes and finding out how much extra space there would be after I have adjusted the extremes and the minimum. Shit, I should not use mouse with Vim. I want the minimum X point to go to the space left in X direction here. If we are just talking about in the X coordinate, and let's say our minimum X is here and our maximum X is here, and the containers, let's say this size is some value X, and the container's size is some X plus some delta, capital D. Then there is delta extra space. If the container were here, then there is delta extra space here around here. So we want this minimum X point to be at delta by 2, because if it is at delta by 2, then this point would be at delta by 2 plus X, and we would have delta by 2 space here and delta by 2 space here. I think that makes sense. And it is also working for the X direction, but this is not working for the Y direction somehow. Oh, did you also saw someone moving behind? Shit. You're just getting the last point as max each time. Yeah, my bad. You didn't need width. No, it will be at mid always. We need for height, the max height Y and minimum Y value. We need to adjust both of them. We need to adjust for both of them because maybe in some organism we have adjusted this shape. We have taken the factor maybe here, like for right now, our height is bigger than our width. So if we were to fit this organism in this container in its height, then the width is already like cool. It is like, yeah, at the right place. But in some organisms, we might have the width as width greater than the height. And yeah, it is not fixed. It is not fixed. In those organisms, we will have maybe this adjusted correctly for the height, but not for the width. So we have to fix both of them. Will it not be identical to both sides? So it will always be mid. Both side, it should be, this should be identical. I don't know where the problem is. This should already be working at this point, but this is not working. Okay, space X and space Y. Space Y is problematic. Wait, even though space Y is this, we should have the minimum Y point, that which is the top point of our figure, that should be at around. Shit. I think I get it. Okay, so it seems like the downward direction is negative, maybe, in which case our target Y should be negative. In which case this is wrong shit. Our X point is correct. Yes, there is no problem with the X. We have same amount of space on the left here and same space here. Space here and here, it is same. But why do we have this much space here? Which we can actually look. Yeah. This should be, I guess, the minimum y. This is the minimum y. Y1. So this thing starts at y214 and ends at y219. 214 and 219. And the minimum y is at 160. But why is 160 out of the frame? If I were to add del y to minimum y, then we would get space y by 2. But we do not. Yeah, we are getting some wrong thing. 80, shit. Yes, since space is 160, there should be 80 pixels at the top and 80 pixels at the bottom, but there are not 80 pixels the top and bottom. Shit, because of this. It should be min. And now we are happy. Shit. Okay, that was a stupid mistake, but now we are cool. Okay. Okay. Um, yes. Okay. Now, okay, we have a grid. We have a grid which is also responsive. So that is a cool thing. We have a responsive grid. Hmm. I think we should put yeah, minimum width so that this does not go beyond smaller than this. And minimum width. Okay. Chat GPT. Wait, I think we can figure it out. It has status. Uh, why do we have this thing? Git and wait, not yet. Minimum width to the make function, which is just this. You have to give this minimum width. Tailwind min width. Yes, that min w and number. Do we have a number? Yeah, min w. Number would be width of an organism plus some extra padding margin, let's say like 10 pixels. Now we should not be able to, or said whatever. Okay, so we have a grid, a working grid. That's cool. Git add uh, added grid working grid push. What is your main? And now let's add mutation. Mutation. Okay, what would that look like? So we have a higher component, the main app component. Big main app component. yeah, rounded corners. And this app component, why is this big? This app component is giving DNA to another component, which is the grid component. And this grid component is just rendering the DNA. What we want is, okay, and these are the organisms. This app component has a list of DNAs. Let's call it LD, list of DNAs. What we want is when the user clicks on one of these DNAs, we want the app component to know which DNA has been clicked on, and then the app component will update its list of DNA and give the new list, updated list, to the grid, and the grid will render the new DNA, the new organisms. So we can pass a function to this grid, and that function will in turn be passed down. This is prop drilling to each of the component and each to each of the organism, and each of the organism would be listening for a click, and whenever they are clicked, that function will run, and that function is known, yeah, it should be run at this place, or maybe a state change. Yes, a state change will trigger. So yes, okay, we can put the DNA in a state. I think state is not required here, because whenever we click, we will update the whole list of DNA. Yep, we will update the whole list. How will this function know which thing has been clicked here? Prop drilling, we can give, we are giving the DNA to each of these functions. Maybe there would be a component in the DNA which says clicked or not, and when the app function is being rendered for the first time, we can use a use effect. Inside use effect hook, we will have a function which goes through the DNA and the list of DNAs and sees if there is a DNA which has been clicked, and if there is a DNA which has been clicked, we will call a mutation function which will update the whole list and update the state, and yep, the whole normal thing will go on. And whenever we click on an organism, that organism will change the state, update the state of a particular DNA, and make some boolean value true, and which would be like clicked or non-clicked. I guess that makes sense. Yep, it is working. Yay. Yay is the package manager in Arch. Right, I have to go to the washroom. I will be right back in a minute. Yep. Okay. Okay, so we have to do some prop drilling, and we also have to change. Yeah, we have to put this thing as a state variable, this DNA as a state variable. Okay, how do we do that? Const DNAs and use or set is the conventional thing. Set DNA equals use state, and the default is an empty DNA. I think we can say this DNA list. Empty list. Instead of a empty list, we will call a function, a helper function, which gives us empty DNA, initial DNA dot ps export const initial DNA equals a function which doesn't take in anything but returns DNA. Cannot find DNA. Look for it properly. Return. Okay, what are the things in DNA? Instead of wait, shit. Here instead of number, just substitute number with 0. And yeah, substitute number with 0, and this thing should use initial DNA function. Call this. The DNA is declared, but its value is never used. It does not matter. It is fine. Yep, that is our initial DNA thing, initial organism. Let's add something to our initial organism so that it is a bit more exciting. Helper, initial DNA, layers, one layer, that does not do any good. One branch, that also does not do any good. Length is length 2. Should that should have done something. Hmm. Angles 0. 0 should also work. This is just not working. Initial DNA. Total dot DNAs, and what is the value of the DNA that is going on? An array. Yep, array of objects. Everything is 0. We have to refresh shit. Yes. Layers 1, branch 0, length 1, and refresh, and that is something. That is an organism. That is the initial organism. Okay. Okay, that is good. Now we have to add mutation. Git status, git add, git commit added initial organism. Okay, we have an initial organism now. Yep. So yeah, the list of DNA is a state thing. The use state variable. Use effect. This takes in a function which will run, and this depends on nothing. This should just run once. Interfaces, yes, DNA is an interface. Clicked in dna.ts. Yep. Export interface. Clicked DNA is the name of the interface, and yep, this has DNA extends. Yes, extends DNA and clicked boolean. And in our app function, instead of DNA, we will have clicked DNA module interfaces. No exported module clicked DNA. That is not good. Interfaces clicked DNA. Export interface clicked DNA. Clicked DNA. C should be capital, I think. No, not from DNA. This is from click DNA, and instead of DNA here, we have click DNA. That is cool. And initialize DNA. Initialize. Yes, okay. Initialize DNA. Call that function and open those values like this, I think. Okay. How to expand an object in JS. Yes, this is how we do that. This original object. Yep, so this should be working. Property clicked is missing. Clicked is false. Okay, cool. Uh, yep, that is cool. DNAs. Now we have to change the syntax for these things. This is not a list of DNAs, but a list of clicked DNAs. Remove this and 5 go there. This does not take in a DNA. This takes in. This will take in DNA. This will take in DNA. Here, instead of D, we'll say D dot DNA. Or okay, we are not getting any error. Okay, it's because we are passing in a object which has all the properties of DNA. So that is cool. And then has some extra properties. Gotta find DNA. That is what is that? Type DNA. Okay. Set DNA. Okay. Yes. This will take in okay, we have to define a function which updates it would be in helper update, not update DNA. DNA clicked on click DNA dot ps export const on click DNA. This is a function and this has to know two things. Yeah, this has to take in the list of DNAs. Shit, no, no, no. Since all of the DNAs are in a single state, will you pass the whole list? How does this single component know which DNA has been handed down to it? It does not need to know. The upper function will pass in a wrapper function to each of this, and they just have to call that wrapper function, and the DNA of which they are a part of will be updated automatically. Okay, okay. Organ grid DNA and uh, const on click equals and yep. This takes in set DNAs, function, which is a function, and uh, yes, just set DNA and the index of the DNA, which has been clicked. Yep, and then let new DNA equals set DNA shit. How to ChatGPT? Can I give a function? Can I give a function? Yep. Sheet, what are you making? Hello. Shared scene. I have not used shared scene. And do you need to study biology for these types of projects? This is not very complex biology. This is just like basic evolution, and I think people should know this because this is very amazing. This is very like fascinating how DNA works, how evolution works. And if you want some recommendation, then there is a book, The Blind Watchmaker, and you can read this book, or maybe watch some interview by Richard Dawkins. But I would highly recommend reading this book. This is an amazing book. Like literally, literally an amazing book. This will blow your brains out. And yep, What I'm making here is evolution website where you will get a bunch of organisms. You click on one and you get a next generation of organisms based on the initial one, but the next generation will have some random mutations, and you will keep repeating that process and you will generate more complex life forms. And this is the initial one. This is just a single line that this is an organism and it is a single line. Can I give a function to uh, set use state function to in the original value? Can I give a function? Hmm? And that function requires the value. Yes, that is good. Okay, use state. Okay, we can do that. So that is good. That is good. That is good. So set DNAs. This takes in O. Right. We have to return. Okay, yes. Original and return a list, not let new equals index is declared. That is fine. Implicit has type any. No, this should be of type clicked DNA. Clicked DNA list to be more specific. Okay, shit. This thing does not know what the type of this function is. Okay, okay. I have a function that takes in the set up that takes in the set use a state function as a parameter. How do I wait? I think I need to know the type of this function. It's just this React dispatch, this whole thing. Copy this, go here, and instead of function, paste this, and should be good. We are not good. How do I, as a parameter, how do I specify the type for the set use state function? You're in a TypeScript territory. Yes, we are. This is what you are using. React.dispatch react set state action and number if the input type is number. That is the real type. The canonical answer, just we have a function which takes set count. Okay, yes, that is correct. Complete and future proof. Or we can write a generic template using T. React.dispatch. What is the problem with this? Do we not have React? We do not have React. TypeScript argument of type original clicked DNA void is not assignable to the parameter variable. Which we have to at the end return original that fixes some things. TypeScript variable declaration not allowed at this location. Which makes sense. Okay, we can just say original index dot clicked equals true. And what is it? Or instead of original, we can use the canonical name and say previous. Okay, and we can change this function so that it takes the on click function. On click equals on click, and here we can say props takes in on click, which is a function. But what is the type of the function? Okay, and this gives passes on click equals a wrapper function which calls on click, which has been given to this, or props dot on click, props dot on click shit. We don't actually have to use this thing here. Nice. This still works. That is good. On click here takes on click and the index, for which we need map callback function value index. Okay, d dot I, and call this inner function with I, and they are saying on click does not exist. Now it will exist. If we go here and change this and say that on click is also required, whose type is function, and print svg, we can say here on click, on click, props dot on click. Function is not assignable to type mouse event handler. Function provides no match. Mm, mm, Hello. After how much React would you recommend starting projects with your first React? Yes, this is prop drilling, but we have like we do not have a lot of hierarchy, so we are just passing down the things for just 3 and 4 components. So this is like good enough. Okay, tell me line 13 of page. I have not. I have read the book, but not like an AI, not like that. You can start a project right now. React.dev. Go there, learn React, and there is this thing. After going through this quick start, there is this tutorial tic-tac-toe, and by the end of this tutorial, you will have a tic-tac-toe of your own, like this. So yeah, you can do this tic-tac-toe. This place. You can make projects with any amount of React. The project level will depend on the knowledge. Like you can do some basic things to practice. Yep. Yeah. And after those basic things are clear, you can just, while you are making your big project, you can just look up how to do more complex things. If your basic idea is clear, then that is good enough. On click. Check. On click. This is a TypeScript error, but we do not see any error here, which is good. On click. If we change this thing to a button, what do we have? Uh, shit, this is not updating. This is not clickable. On click, I have passed down to a component a function which should run when the component is clicked on. What should be the type for what should be the type for that function? Get this straight first. The type depends on what the function is supposed to do and receive, and not on the fact that it is called on click. Okay. React does not care about intent, only signatures. On click, if the function type is type on click equals, okay, this is a very cool way of defining type for a function. Function button on click takes in, and okay, on click is of type this, which is a function without parameters and doesn't return anything. And on click, call on click. Okay. Okay, so we have to give something more sophisticated than just a single function. Something a bit more sophisticated. And this make is being called by organ grid right here. So this function does not take in anything and also does not return anything. So shit, yes, that is good enough. That is actually good enough. We can just write in place what the type of this thing should be, and it should be wait. DNA of type DNA, and on click of type empty function that returns void, and just remove the word props with nothing. Sure. Substitute props dot with nothing. Okay, now it is good. But this is still not clickable. Substitute button with div, and we do have on click shade. Here we have to say pointer, I think. Okay. Mouse hover focus. Pointer, pointer, pointer. Cursor. Cursor default auto cursor pointer. Hmm. We have a lot of cursors. Let's find a good one. Let's use pointer for now. Cursor, pointer. Yeah, we have a pointer, so that is good. Yes, right now, me in college. Can you learn while making projects, like trying to implement your idea? Okay, shit, can not can you? You can. You are like telling not asking your ideas. And if you don't know to how to that, learn it and then implement it. Yeah, learn and learn the thing and then implement while you are making the thing. Mhm. Okay, console.log. Let's see how this goes. Is this even working? Console. Okay, each child should have. Uh, use of it is not. Hello, and we do see hello twice. That is good. But why don't we see this? Use effect. Shit. That is good. Final argument passed to use effect. Changed size between renders. Changed size between renders. Okay, we are seeing high, so that is good. Okay. Inside use effect for const line const DNA or DNAs for const DNA of DNA. If DNA dot clicked, if one DNA has been clicked, then we have to, yes, then we will call our function. Okay. Const mutate. This function takes in a single DNA of type DNA and returns a list. Returns a DNA list, which is not being written right now. Okay, let response DNA list equals empty list and return this here. And this, if this thing happens, then let new equals all mutate with this current DNA. Left-handed side of an argument expression must be a variable. Take a new up or mutated equals mutate this current DNA and set DNAs. Okay, shit. This does not return a list of DNAs, but this clicked DNA. Click DNA and it returns a list of click DNAs. Clicked DNAs and call the mutate function here and set DNAs to mutated and DNA. It's now we have to write the mutated function. How are we going to mutate now? Okay. In our DNA, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. We can create 8 childs out of which 1 would be the original and 7 would be mutated. And seven would be mutated. 1 would be the original, and in the original, rest 0 dot clicked equals false, make that thing false, and for int or for int I equals 0, I smaller than 7, I plus plus, not int but let old habits. Okay, yes, I think we cannot do this. We can. If we change the type of this loop for const key in DNA, if key is not equals to clicked, if key is not equals to clicked, yes, clicked is a key. If key is not equal to clicked, then we'll do this dot push DNA, except we will change one value, which is key, and its new value would be DNA dot bracket key plus 1. Implicitly has any shared key or key in DNA. TypeScript. Okay, we have to check if yes, if key is not equal to clicked, and if key in DNA element implicitly has type any, because expression of type string can be used to index cannot be used to index type clicked DNA. No index signature with a parameter of type string. Shit. How to iterate over keys of an object in this dot entries is this is the thing that we're using for it. If object dot has own property dot call, if this object has this property, then we can use this, otherwise we cannot, it seems. Object dot has own property dot call. So here checking, instead of checking this, object dot has own uh, has own property is not a method here, has own dot call, not user, DNA as the key const key in user. Method callable function call DNA clicked. Parameters this argument and args. What does it want? Object dot keys for object dot keys dot for each. Run this function. Okay, we can do this. Object dot keys for DNA dot for each. Run this function. Key if key is not equal to clicked, key is not equal to clicked. And we do DNA bracket key that is still not valid. There's some problem with that. Yes. TypeScript, no index signature with parameter string was found on clicked. With signature string, is this old? Because this is not working. DNA clicked DNA shit dot key we can use map. No. Object dot keys, object dot entries, object dot values. We can get the values directly, but we also want the key. Iterate through object properties. Simon age 20 clothing is that. In this, yes, this does not work. Wait, that is cool that we can do this. Property this object recursively call this thing. Object dot prototype has own property dot call. Shit. For const key or where key n makes sense. Wait, no, in DNA, and this DNA is parameter of type clicked DNA makes sense. And if object dot prototype dot has own property dot call DNA dot v, that is good enough. Can we do DNA bracket key? We cannot do DNA bracket key. Still, element implicitly has type any. The constant sum object type object data field, this is a field, gives temporary error if you were to index into some object using that string. Solution 1, when the type of the object is known, when the type as key of this field as key of this. Okay, type of the object is known, but Okay. Solution 2, when the type of the object is not known, in that case, field as key of type of some object. Okay, shit. And how old is this? This is 10 months old. Shit, no, 2021. 5 years old at this point. Key as key of click DNA, and that works. So that is good. Okay, we have changed the string into a key of DNA, and now, yeah, okay. I think we don't have to do this inner thing that we are doing. If key is not equal to clicked, in that case, if key is not equal to clicked, in that case, rest dot push key, its value will be, wait, I think we should do it like, no, how to use a variable as a key for an object in JS. When accessing or assigning a value, yep, this is not what we want at this point. So we want to use it as a key as how to use a variable as a key for an object when defining in JS, like this. Yes, dynamic key as key of click DNA. It works, and DNA key as key of clicked DNA, and there is a problem. Argument of type this X is, yes, okay. We don't have the full thing. Okay, that is good. But we also have to change something. How to get a random number in JS? How to get a random number in JS? Let's see. Because we want a random mutation, math.random. This returns a random number between 0 and 1. Okay. Plus math.random returns a number. Cannot be applied to types a number slash boolean. This is always number. Okay, let a new value, which is a number, equals math dot equals DNA key as key of clicked DNA if uh, if type of new value equals number In that case, main value plus equals math dot random greater than 0.5. If it is greater than 0.5, then we will add 1, otherwise subtract 1. And here delete give new value, and we are good. We should actually see some evolution here, except we don't see any evolution. Maybe refresh. Nope, we are not seeing any evolution. No evolution. Okay. Use effect immutable console.log evolved. Do we see something? We do not see anything. Evolved, and yep, on clicking we do not see anything. Console.log DNAs, console.log the whole DNA. And how is clicked? Clicked is true. Clicked is true. Clicked is true. If DNA dot clicked, then let mutate, call the mutate function. This should be returning in quite a few things. Console.log res. Why is this not working even though clicked is true here? And why is it true anyway? Now it is false. Now I have clicked this thing and it is still false. I have clicked this on click, let's say console.log, click it. Okay, it is being clicked, but some of the value is not updating. Return previous state after set DNAs. Set DNAs is being called use state function. Yes. Previous value dot value +1 return previous. Mutation React may ignore this. Shit, okay, that is wrong, they say. This return. Okay, okay. Uh, just update the click. Index is not used because this is a list. Oh, shit. Let's go back. Let's go back. Okay. Let new equals ref. We can cannot use let and anything here yet. This previous value is a list. How do I change an element when I know the index of that? How to change an element in this when I know the index of that element, which must be changed. Good, now we are at the point where immutability stops being a slogan. Wait, list. Yes, this is a number and previous dot map. That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. How, yes, okay. Previous dot map value and I depending on I equals to index question mark. If I is equal to the index, then what must be returned is value except clicked is true, and if not, then value, which also does not work somehow. Because you have to use return. Yes, cool. Or we don't have to use return here if we do this. Okay, that should help us. No, we don't see anything. No. It is still not working. On click changes in this and console.log say that this has been clicked and my laptop is going to literally die. My bad. 3%. Okay, the stream might end unexpectedly. The only thing good about learning React is you get to know and praise the existence of HTMX. I guess, yeah, you could say that. And look at this. And another thing of learning, another benefit of learning React would be that anyone will be able to just, like, I can send them a link and they will be able to see my website. Pretty cool. And look at this. This number is increasing. Clicked, clicked, clicked. Set state is happening. But nothing is re-rendering. We were to say console.log DNAs. Okay. DNAs. DNAs. Clicked is false. Okay. Why do we have like 3 DNAs? Is mutate not doing a good job? Mutate not mutating. If random value new value is okay, the original value, and then console.log type of new value. Let's see, and it is number, number, a small number. Are we going in this if statement? We are going in this if statement. So the value is updating. It is updating. The value is updating. So we should see some nice things here. No, we don't. Layers is the only one which is one. Yeah, sure. We are not seeing any nice things. Console.log new value and click. Yes, new value is changed. So why don't we see it here? New value res.push console.log res shared. Okay, I think because of this. Okay, no. Okay, values are updating. Okay, 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 okay. It is layers or length. Yeah, we have to add extra guide rails for layers and length. If new if key equals layers, if key is layers, then we will have something else. Else if key is length, then we will have something else, and else just do this. Okay. And also for branch, it cannot go negative. Length can also not go negative. Layers can also not go negative. Okay. If key in length layers or branch, then do something. Otherwise, do something else. Look, hosting on the side, it just another level of pain depending on front end or back end takes money, but front end you can host wherever you want for free. It is cool unless you do a static export. Yes, it is not so simple to set it up. Although Vercel Netlify does make it easy, but they hide away a lot of things which is important to know and learn. Yes, they do hide away a lot of things. With Vercel, you just have to select your GitHub repo and everything is handled. And yeah, but for GitHub, you have to do some things. For GitHub, you have to, I think, bundle up all your React if you are using React into three files: index.html, index.css, and index.js, and that will be exported by GitHub using GitHub pages. Okay, let's add some things here. Okay, if first of all, we do not want these things to be zero, these values to be zero. Okay, so yeah, new value plus equals uh, in this same logic, except if it is greater than, do make it greater, and if it is then this, then new value equals maximum of 1 or new value. I think that is good enough. Cannot find max, that is fine. Okay, layers is one, angles have changed. Okay, we are like way out in the evolution trail, but layers is not updating. We need more layers. We should have had some places where this has increased. Like here, add 1 to the layers. Well, wait, layers is 0. Uh, layers is at minimum 1. So if we do -1, we will update that thing here and we will make it 1. Yes, layers will not be smaller than 1. Yes. What are the layers now? At some point, layers is 0, which is not right. Layers, branches, layers, angles, and layers. All right. How to check if a key exists in a list, if an item exists in a list in JS. Okay, includes key. At least we should not get negative layers now. Layers are 1, always, always 1. Okay, that's good. Let's increase. Well, shit, we don't see anything. Yep. Everything else is changing. It is just layers and Length. The length layers. Why don't we have like layers greater than one? Let's artificially say always add one. It just does not work. But everything else is changing. It is just that layers and branches. Layers, length, layers, length, branches, layers, length, branches, shade. Okay, we did saw something. Okay, we have some. Oh, okay, we do have organisms now. Okay, this is working. This is working. This is actually working. Uh, there are some chats. Unless you do static. Okay, for learning, I have hosted my current testing website using Google Cloud and wrote it in HTMX and Go. And honestly, that did taught me, or rather forced me to look into a lot of new stuff. Okay, HTMX, what is HTMX? I have to look it up. And React is good when fast development is needed, but React isn't, rather shouldn't really be the go-to solution for websites, at least for students or someone learning about websites. I mean, you're not always learning. You can use lower level stuff when you are learning, but when you do want to get something done, unresponsive, yes, because we increased the branch too much. But when you are actually trying to build something and get something done, I guess this thing I have come to accept after some time, that going up in level of abstraction and using something easier, using Python instead of C++, can be a good choice at times. Use a set. What are you working? Exactly, we are working on evolution. So like spider, yes, we are making spiders. We are gods now. Cannot remember the name of animated character from Pixar. Wait, the lamp. And wait, what is HTMX? What is HTMX? HTMX is a small dependency-free JavaScript library that allows developers to access modern browser features like EJAX, CSS transition, WebSockets, and server-sent events directly from HTML using sample solutions concept. Okay, so you are, I think, using Go for what evolution? Evolution of organisms, like Darwin, Charles Darwin evolution. Okay, shit. So instead of JavaScript, you are using HTMX. Even if you are building something for a simple blog site, React is more of liability. It will literally slow down your website, s- slow down your website, and go for server, which would serve assets and pages. Yep. No, I mean, I cannot go into the numbers of how I would like prove my point that React is a good choice at times, most of the times when you do want something done instead of working with some low level stuff. React is a good choice because like, it is easier to work with. And wait, we messed up our evolution. Let's start fresh. Shit. One run dev. Should we literally broke God? Okay. This is our basic organism, and this is the next generation. No change. Okay, we have a new like type of organism here. click on this, the next generation. Let's click on this. Okay, this is the next generation here. Okay, yes, we are like going higher. I think we have to work with, we have to work more on how we are representing the organism with the DNA. This one looks cool, by the way. I don't know why this one looks cool. This one also looks cool. We have to change how we are interpreting the DNA and making an organism. Put etc. in HTML itself. If you have a deeply nested component and you have the top level of the component tree updating a lot, then React is pretty slow, but those cases are pretty rare. Deeply nested component. I think I think there is a way by which you can say do not render this like child component again and again and just render these things which have actually changed. Like I think you are saying this, that when you have a like big component, it has some state variables, and this component is passing on some of these state variables deeply nested to other components, right? And let's say this state variable, which has been passed down through multiple levels down to this component, which is using this state variable from the parent, and at some point this small component changes this state variable, which causes a re-render for this whole component, which in turn causes a re-render for all of these child components, which is not very good. So I think there is a way by which you can say like this component and these state variables and the components which do not use this state variable specifically re-render only the components which use this state variable and do not re-render the other ones which don't use it. I think there is a way to do that in React. Yeah, it is good. It is good. I never said it is bad, but it doesn't mean that it is fast. It's slow because your browser needs to stop HTML parsing and rendering email, ask for JavaScript and load it in the VM and execute it. And because your browser need to stop HTML parsing and rendering HTML, ask for JavaScript. For React, JavaScript is already there at the browser, like for this whole website. The whole HTML and JavaScript is already here. It is just that the like JavaScript is updating the HTML. So there is no fetching. Again, there is some change in the tree, in the like DOM tree. Things like block sites, etc., are just plain static sites. Why you need reactivity for it? React would be a bad choice for that. I mean, if we do not need reactivity, React would be a bad choice if there are a lot of things happening. But if you are saying you don't need reactivity, then there are not a lot of things happening, then therefore the website is not very, would not be very slow, I guess. JS is there, but browser won't render the HTML unless whole JS is ran, because it can change HTML elements. This would be for anything, like this would happen for whatever you are using for making your website. Like you always have JS and you always have HTML. So if you are saying that HTML does not render when the till the whole JS runs, then this would happen always, even if for your simple portfolio website, if it has JS. If it does not have JS, then this would not be the cause of slowing it down, or this could, or you could say that the size of the JavaScript which comes with React is bigger because it has to load the whole React library. So yeah, that is also like, yes, a downside. SolidJS actually solves this completely. All components functions only run once, and all the reactive elements update themselves, not their children, mm, which is cool. And not to mention, React literally ships a whole as run. Wait, React ships a whole runtime. Wait, shit. We gotta like look into it. I think that is correct because React has to keep the like a virtual DOM and check whenever there is a user state change. It has to check, compare with the virtual DOM and see what things should be changed. So I guess yeah, that would be done by a runtime, I guess. And for this case, even Svelte is far better because it exports just the necessary HTML, JS. A fake, because that was the reason why Svelte was made. Sure. And what is fake? Sure. As far as I know, shade. Okay, that is good. Okay, wait. Yes. Well, for today, at least the objectives have been completed. Yep, the objectives. Shit. This is very like slow. Wait, objectives have not been completed. This should also in decrease at times. Okay, yes, let's go. Let's go. And we have to say max this and new value equals max dot minimum 9. Don't increase this thing too much. Okay, shit. Okay, shit. Let's go a bit lighter. Mm, That is something. It is working. Yeah, they have some sort of ticking system where it actually only when the cycle ends it will apply the update. It's really annoying while developing because set state doesn't immediately update. Yes. Shit, yes, I read something about this. Set state does not immediately update. I think it is that you have listeners like on click or some stuff, and in your on click function, there is the use state point, um, set state. There is a like there would be some line at which you are updating the state using set state function. But when you call the set state function to give the new state, React or your browser moves on to running the next line and then the next and then the next. When this whole on click function runs, only then React sees which states have been updated and updates them. So as a like consequence, if you have a variable x and at some point in like some line you use set x to update x, and let's say originally x was 1 and then you used set x and called it with 2, and after calling this function set x you were to use x, you will not get 2, you will get 1, you will get the original value. because X has not yet been updated. It will update after this whole function has been called. So yeah, that is one thing. These organisms are fighting demons. Yes, we have to update the way that we are representing DNA and interpreting it. Yeah, because this is not very good. Just changing a few values can have immense impact on the whole organism, which is not very good. Yep. Dude, it looks like some other kind of hair. Yes. Yes. And that is one hell of annoying behavior in React. It is not like that in solid shit. Solid JS. Yep, right here. Solid JS. What is solid JS? Solid JS. Simpler and performant reactivity for building user interfaces. Does solid JS do the same thing that React does, but like in its own way? But yeah, essentially the same thing, but it in its own way. Are used to build interactive user interfaces using with a similar JSX syntax. They employ fundamental different mechanisms for updating the UI. Yeah, they do the same thing in their own way. React uses a virtual DOM, while SolidJS uses fine-grained reactivity and directly manipulates the real DOM, which generally results in superior performance and smaller bundle size because it does not have to maintain a virtual DOM. Okay, SolidJS, React. When did SolidJS come out? Like, this is the first time I'm hearing its name. 2018. Ryan Cariato, Italian. Shit, he has a YouTube channel. Carniato, Ryan Carniato. He has more subscribers than me. He's better. He has also made a like React thing, so that is yes, a library. There was a book sheet. This thing. What is this? Innovating React with Ricky Hel Hanlon. Hanlon. And this thing, this like this photo with universe in a nutshell. This is from Stephen Hawking's book in a nutshell. Yes, book by Stephen Hawking. This is the same photo. This is plagiarism. What does bro talk about? Signal 6 months ago. What every React developer should know about signals. Shit. I don't know what signal is. Three ways, frameworks, render, the DOM. That would be a good introduction to Java framework and JavaScript frameworks. Okay, that is a nice thing. Building JavaScript framework client performance tier list. Shit, that might be an informative video, 1 hour long. Yep. But no one gonna use to shit web development native Android development seems simple. O- Okay, why the fuck is it unnecessarily complex? I mean, yeah, it is. It is complex. It is complex. It is complex. There are a lot of moving parts, and not just that. Complexity does not arise. The whole process is simple. You just want to send your HTML, your JavaScript, and your CSS to some browser and to some client's browser, and they will run it. That is that part is simple, but the technologies that we have for doing this simple process, they are numerous, and that is where the mess comes from, and also from the fact that JavaScript is messed up. It has a lot of things just randomly punched together. But no one's gonna use solid.js because AI overloads don't generate solid.js code, and no one's gonna use solid.js because it is relatively easy and less complex. So how will web dev show themselves important? Should I mean they are important because like it is very accessible no matter what device you have. You generally do have a browser, so that is a plus point. And let me put this thing online. Git commit message. Yeah, first prototype, prototype. It was origin main and okay, and Vercel or GitHub pages. Let's use GitHub pages. Vercel is too easy, so let's use GitHub pages. There might be some shit sensitive information here. I don't know. Pages. Deploy from a branch. Mm, GitHub Actions best for using frameworks. How do I do this? GitHub Actions. GitHub page static HTML or GitHub Actions package Jekyll site. How to deploy a React app on GitHub pages. Introduction. In this tutorial, I will show you how you can create a React app and deploy it to GitHub pages. To create a React app, I will use create React app. Okay, GH pages. To deploy, I will be using GH pages, which is an npm package people can use to deploy things to GitHub pages. Shit, they have a package. What does it do? npm install this basic usage, publish files to GH to a GitHub pages branch on GitHub on any other branch anywhere else or any other branch anywhere else. Should we have to write some JavaScript for this? Uh, that is something. Okay. Node, have node. Here are the versions I will be using. Okay, Go will be using this version. Git, bro has Git. This is the version. Bro has a GitHub account. It seems like yes. Create an empty repository on GitHub. Link. Okay. Fill in the forms as repository name, privacy, select public. Public is fine. Public is cool. I will choose public. Initialize repository. Create the React app. Npx. This. Okay. Go there. Install GitHub pages. Save dev only for the development part. Bro is using Vim. Okay. Already cool. Open packages. Add a home page property. This does not look cool because it feels like I'm manually putting this thing somewhere, right? If that makes sense. I mean, SolidJS has the same stuff which is there in React, but it is much more predictable. Okay, shit, man, like, I don't know. I cannot say anything. I've used solid J's. Yeah, same solid is felt more predictable and nice. Bundles were smaller too. I don't know if it was due to something else. Not usually Emacs. Wait, shit, I think I don't have to read all the chats that go on here. And wait, if you think solid JS is simpler and more predictable, would you go to web development or like do some web stuff using solid JS? And yeah, would you give web development a chance using that? Yeah, let's just use Vercel. I'll figure it out how to use React. Login. Wait a minute, let me hide my screen. Yep. Wait, with GitHub authenticating. Okay, I'm logged in. Logged in. Yep. Whole add new project evolution import project name evolution white yes root directory build settings white build yes wait this is how we build in white build hmm. Package dot no. This the commands are here dependencies scripts build bun run build command bun run build and yeah there are no environment variables deploy evolution. Let's say at the top, and yes, we do have to do some cleaning up here, but yeah, you can do that here. Which one? Let's evolve or something. Shit, okay. We can go there. We can go to the website. This is the link. And why does it say Ruby? Yo, let's go. Anyone can use this? Oh, back to basics. Yes. Like, yeah, I want to like relax for a bit, and I will figure out how to use GitHub Pages at some point. Do a static export and then go to Pages. That would be simpler than installing and running some random stuff from the internet. Yeah. Wait, maybe for GitHub Pages, not maybe, I think I should use some actions, right? Like workflow thing, whenever I make a commit, a command would run which would update index.h, which would build the whole project, and yeah, which would build the whole project and run. Yep, it won't allow server render stuff. Yep, it won't allow server render stuff. It needs a simple HTML to deploy. Yep. For GitHub Actions, yeah, GitHub Actions, I can use GitHub Actions like workflow things. Wait, I think I can do that. Yep, run GitHub Actions. I think that would be cool. Let's see. Let's evolve. Why is this here? Let's evolve. Last name, text, blue, perfect blue. And get actions is pay. It is pay. Is it paid? I don't know what is the criteria for the free tier. Oh, shit. Shit. Okay. This. I didn't know that. Wait. No, this is not blue. Somehow. Yep. This is not blue. If this is the way that we show colors. Text color. This should be working. Text blue. Okay, I have to give a number. Yeah, okay. Text blue and text size big. LG. LG. That is very small. Let's justify center and instead of LG, XL, 3XL. 3XL is also very small. Uh, Text size. How do you manual size? A text font size. Uh, Font. This is not changing. Yeah. Font size. Can we give a custom size? Wait, 9XL. We can go till 9XL. That is too big. And weight, bold, and the font. Which font? Mr. Robot font. I don't know what is the current status, but when I learned React and tried hosting it on pages, didn't allow to render server side. It does not allow server side stuff. Like, yes, it will not allow that. Text 3XL. 3XL is a bit small. Font. How do we change font? Font style. Shit, not that, but how to change the literal font? Change font in typography. Font family. Mono. Font mono. That is good. And how to give a custom font? Mr. Robot font. Download. Shit. In programming, go to Objects, evolution, public, Mr. Robot. Yep, Mr. Robot dot TTF. How to use custom font. How to use custom font in Tailwind CSS. Custom, not value, but font. Customizing your theme. Font display. Font. Okay, font display. We can add new fonts using this, I think. Custom use this font theme variable to customize the font family using utilities in your project varying uh, not custom value but custom font. Using custom font value, nope. Responsive design, nope. Customizing your theme, use this. Theme variables to customize the font family. No, I want to give my own font family. Font display. Okay, we can give a source. That is good. If needed, use font face to rule to load custom fonts. Yes, okay. Font face, but where does all of this go? In Tailwind file somewhere. Here, okay. There is no tailwind.config file. Where does tailwind config in JS go? Tailwind.config.js, okay, in the root. Tailwind.config.js, okay, and okay, here you have to do something like this. Font face decorations are not valid here. Like shut up. Source URL format font family robot. What was the thing? Shit. No. Shit. In Tailwind 3, it all used to be defined in Tailwind wind config file. But since Tailwind 4, I think all the custom theming needs to be defined in the CSS itself. I haven't worked with Tailwind 4 yet. Shit. Okay. Shit, I think in that case, this would go in the app.css file. Shit, no error. That is cool. And public ls public Mr. Robot dot, should we have to change the name? Move public Mr. Robot and this Mr. Robot dot ttf. Mr. Robot dot ttf. I've got CSS, yep, public slash here ttf Mr. Robot dot ttf. And maybe now we can here say font robot and it might just work. It does not work. ChatGPT, oh wait, is ChatGPT isn't like not wrong to be used here. How to make custom font and Tailwind. How do you have custom font and Tailwind? Yeah. Shit, they're all hot. Okay, yes, and you can use config file too, but then you would need to write a JSON like syntax, and in that you would need to create a key named theme, maybe, and then it will go inside that. Okay, how do you know like all this? And wait, can you not write comment longer than this or something like that key? Okay, and I suppose you're not even in college yet. That is a head start. In robot, wait, where is ChatGPT? Custom fonts, yes. Public slash fonts. Put the font somewhere, same. Font face inside global.css or index.css. Do this. Font family, name, inner source, URL, this format. Tell the format. This is what we are doing. Except if we have a word in Vim, how can we put double quotes or anything around that word? There must be a way. DW, like shit. DW, shit. DIW, I, double quotes, escape, and P. That is a lot of keys. Okay, that part is done. Teach Tailwind, the font name. Shit. Okay, we have to make changes in both the places. And go import Tailwind config.js to this. In our system UI sans serif. It just maps font sans, font family, enter. Oh, that does not make sense. Use it, font sans. Font family, enter. Okay, font family, enter for the sans font system UI sans serif, enter. Okay, I will like figure it out at some point. But for today, this would be the end of the stream because I have worked with it. Shit. And just because I hate it doesn't mean I don't know it. If I am hating something, I should at least know how to solve a problem in it, or else it is just irrelevant. I hate it because I know it. Also, yeah, that is the like max characters you can use in reply box. Yeah, yep, it seems so. And yeah, that is cool knowing the thing that you hate. And for today, this would be the end of the stream. We have deployed the thing. You can like literally go to this page. Mm, shit. Yep. Here you can play. If play is the right word, you can play. Like be God. Make your own organisms, and we can add new features to this thing. Tomorrow we will like clean up the code and make this more presentable. Work on the UI and make this, yeah, presentable and clean up the code. Yep. And that would be the end of today's stream. And thank you for being here. Bye.